from the heart of Dubai, where tomorrow is being built today, to the world. Welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. Here, we redefine technology and reimagine possibilities. With Mehmet, delve into the riveting realms of AI, cybersecurity, and digital technology. Experience the thrilling highs and lows of startups. Immerse yourself in the spirit of entrepreneurship and witness the future of business innovation being written in real time. Now, without further ado, let's tune in and explore the future.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Today, I'm very pleased. Joining me from the US, Nelson Nigel. Nelson is the founder of Kidmoto. The way I love to do it, Nelson, is I keep it to my guests to introduce themselves. So tell us more about you, your journey, and what you're currently up to, and then we can start the conversation from there and talk, of course, about what you currently doing with Kidmoto, and of course about starting the business and all what you have learned. So the floor is yours.
Hello, Mehmet, and aloha from New York City. My name is Nelson Nigel, founder of Kidmoto Technologies here in New York City, and we're a mobile app that connects passengers that seek child car seats to drivers that provide installed child car seats for airport transportation. We make the airport travel easy for parents traveling because they just don't have to travel with child car seats. I'm a longtime serial entrepreneur. Forget about it. I've been doing this a long time, and I failed miserably countless times. So it's part of the journey. Yep.
Love that. It's indeed part of the journey. And thank you again, Nelson, for being here with me today and, of course, sharing your experience. Now, traditional question I ask every founder I have with me on the show. The moment you spotted the problem that, of course, you're solving now with Kidmoto and said, hey, hold on one second, like there is a pain. And till now, either like no one thought about it or maybe the existing solutions are not enough. So I love to learn about this moment when you said, yeah, this is the idea I'm gonna go after. And how did this all started?
Oh, that's a very good question. The moment, I I always say I could have been smoking like fentanyl or something because I don't know what I was thinking, but uh, but it I did see the value. I did have the vision. In terms of bringing it to reality, forget about it. That was incredibly hard. But the moment was during the Uber was at the height, Lyft was at the height, and I just noticed that it was just an area that they didn't cover, which was child car seats. And in my experience, being a yellow cab driver, again, which is the best job ever, right? New York City yellow cabs. And I saw that no one was specializing in that. And me, having, so much business experience, I knew that, the riches are in the niches, right? So I said, you know what, I can focus specifically on that. And that's what I did.
That's cool. I love these stories, honestly, Nelson. Now, I know that you bootstrap this, and honestly, it's not the easiest thing to do, right? So why you decide to bootstrap? And I would say how hard it is, because even for any other business, it's also hard to to start it, but it's like a dominated market, maybe a lot of competition out there. So tell me or walk me through, how you managed to bootstrap this, and maybe some of the challenges that you were able to also navigate without getting any external funding.
Okay. That's a very good question, actually, right? So, uh, two great questions. So now I, I, I knew that, it wasn't sexy at the time, child car seats. It's not sexy to investors. and I didn't have a partner. It was by myself. So I chose, but because of my extensive business experience, and I was very confident in in my knowledge, I said, I can do this I can do this on my own. And so instead of focusing on finding the money, I focused on operations and building out the business. I started with like a cheat sheet, right? Because I understand the value of business planning and business plans. So I would say that when I started Kidmoto, I had a business plan that was about 400 pages long, large font, like 18 font, right? So I had a very strong infrastructure in terms of knowing where I was going with it and putting it together. It's kind of like, I had 400 pages of blueprints. So I could, instead of, you can build a Burj Dubai, or you can build as I say, a 5-story house, a 5-story building, 10-story building. And the second part of the question, so some challenges I faced, of course, it's always funding, right? When you're building a large fire, you need a lot of gasoline, a lot of money, and I didn't have that. So, uh, so that's, but that was it's tremendously hard. But I was able to do it by just borrowing money from banks, and it was tremendously hard. But either you focus on operations or you focus on raising money. If you focus on raising money, that takes away from operations. If you focus on operations, you could build a great company, but you won't. You're not going to have to. But you can't have the money at the same time. So, and there really isn't a balance. There isn't. So I focused on operations. I built out a great company. It was just tremendously hard, right? And when you have a co-founder, of course, it's usually better. I didn't have a co-founder at the time, and so instead of trying to find a co-founder, I had to do it on my own, and I kind of, generally you want to have find a co-founder that can do some things that you can't. And I was really good at so many ends of business that I really didn't need to bring somebody else in uh, that provided something that I didn't have. In hindsight, yes, I could have, I should have, I could have, should have, would have, but it is what it is. We're now in 64 cities. We're being used by consumers all over the country, and and I love what we're doing.
Great, great. Again, like these are, I would call them gems, right? Especially for fellow entrepreneurs to listen to these stories. Now, so, and maybe the audience will figure out, I'm trying to, walk them through a journey. So we get the idea, we get the challenges that we're going to do and build this by ourselves, which is you, Nelson. Here, I'm talking about you. Now, and you mentioned business plan. So part, of the business plan is you come out with hypotheses, which is saying, yeah, so there's no one doing the child car seat. So will anyone want this? So what I'm wondering, you know, how did you find out that yes, like we have a product market fit and for example, we are seeing that people want that, people are doing this. So how did you manage to validate the idea and even before building the app and the team as you mentioned?
Very good question. Okay, I used to drive a yellow cab. I saw the need for child car seats. I drove a black car, like an Uber, and I saw the need for child car seats. So kind of put me in the right directions in terms of finding a product market fit, right? So I knew there was a market for it. I knew how to target that market. So I kind of, and I had a very strong business plan. It's not like I just saw the idea and I started it immediately. No, I sat down, I worked on my business plan. I had a previous business plan from a previous company. So I just took a lot from that previous business plan, and I changed it around and took a lot of work. But again, it's the blueprints. If you could create the blueprints, you can just start building from those that plan. So that business plan is very important. It's your thoughts on paper.
Wow, this is this is stuck in my head actually because yeah, it's like a um, it's a testimonial, I would say, for someone like you, Nelson, who went out and tried it and see, and you knew because also you immerse yourself in the experience being, a cab driver. So I think this added a lot. Now, what I also wonder, so you put that out, so it start to become available for people. So how much important was the feedback that you started to receive from early adopters, let's say, right? So and it's it's very important to win the trust of parents also, right? So how was like the feedback from people who used, your solution played role in shaping also the direction of what you were building and where you reached now.
Oh, absolutely. Consumer feedback is always important. You get to see what the consumers are thinking, gauge where they're at, and it's very important to get that feedback. And because it helps you create a better product, a better consumer journey, and it's always super important. Just always, and it helps you pinpoint holes in your consumer journey. It because sometimes you forget about certain things and you don't have an answer for it. So now you're able to say, okay, well, you know what? We need to think about this. We need to think about that. We need to create this in case this happens, right? So consumer journey is always important. I mean, consumer feedback.
Right. Now, another question that someone might ask. Of course, when you start to do this, you found the gap because as you described to us, like you were living it, and you were seeing it, and we know that the two big, what they call it, the ride sharing, giants, Uber, Lyft. So they skip. It looks like they skipped this niche, right? Uh, so how do you stay defensible, Nelson, and differentiated if they decide to enter this market?
Now, mate, I'm running my race. I'm only running my race. I'm not looking behind, and I'm not looking forward. Uh, in terms of, you know, you know, what would Uber or what would Lyft do, right? I'm running my race. Um, I know my area of expertise, and that's what I focus on. If a company has $50 billion and they don't do it, there's a reason why.
Right. So I, I think it's clear. For me, it's clear, and I think like the trust that you build, and probably the I can see there's an emotional connection to your customers that I think this is an edge by itself. Understanding, because we're dealing with parents, and you know, so I believe like yeah, and being copied. And I always tell people like being copied is part of the journey. But I love when you said you're living your current race, not looking back, not looking forward, which is like I think something also interesting to hear from you. Um,
Let me stay on that one for a second, right?
sure.
When you're a multi-billion-dollar organization, right? Sometimes you're not on the radar. You're not on the radar of an organization like that because you're just too small, right? So fishermen who are going out to sea to catch tuna are really not looking to catch starfish.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, because at the end of the day, like you're not going after their biggest market share, right? So
They're focused on their consumer base, and we're focused on ours. Again, you don't find starfish all the way out in the deep ocean where there's tuna, right? And
absolutely,
and they have machines to catch the tuna, not the starfish. All right.
absolutely,
Starfish
absolutely.
are inconsequential to them, right? So that's that's something to think about.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure if it was fish or something else, but once I saw it or read it somewhere that when I think it's fish. So the reason like big fishes they avoid eating smaller ones sometimes is because they don't want to keep it, and they get choked, right? So this is why and it's a waste of time and energy also sometimes, right? So it makes sense. Now, one milestone, and I think you have multiple milestones, but like reaching, the 1 million plus revenue, 40,000
Yes.
plus rights is really something impressive. So,
Yeah.
like, what do you think worked well to grow, the revenue and the number of course, people who are using it, while at the same time maintaining the same service quality?
So this goes back to your business plan, right? You need to document things as much as possible. So I always say documentation, record keeping, uh, 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 organization. Um, it's very important, right? And you need systems in place, right? So you need good systemization, right? If you have good systems, and it's documented well, you could replicate those systems, and you have to focus, right? So, uh, you need everything. Everything has to be documented. If it's not documented, it never happened, right? And if it's not documented, it's your thoughts on paper. So it's very important to understand that documentation is it's very important, and it's your thoughts on paper. And if you stick to your plan, you can get to your destination. It's kind of like I say I'm gonna leave today. I'm gonna go probably go to the restaurant, and I'm just use the Google Map on my phone, and I'll enter my destination. And if my destination is here, Google Map would give me a map to go to my destination. So if you start a business and you know where you're going, and you create a route to where you're going, right? Forget about it. You follow that route, you'll get to your destination. That's how it works.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense to me, Nelson. Now, another thing, which is uh, maybe we touched on, but I gonna reverse things a little bit here. So, of course, I know you bootstrap the business, and let me ask: are you looking for any round currently, or not yet?
I was doing something a few months back, and it was an incredible experience. I didn't go forward with it, but I'm always entertaining. I always entertaining.
Yeah, and the reason why I'm asking you, so of course, I know you had so your blueprint, and I think you repeated this couple of times, Nelson, which makes sense. So you had the blueprint, the plan. You adjusted it. You tried to be flexible, which is one of the things that every entrepreneur should do. You took the risk also as well. But
Yes,
let's imagine, right? So if you wanted to approach, I know you mentioned like it's not very attractive to investors, but let's say there were some rooms for investors to be in. So how would you approach this? And the reason I'm asking you this, Nelson, so probably to shed some light for fellow founders and entrepreneurs
yes,
who might still, because they are doing something that needs a lot of capital at the beginning. And
yes,
there is this debate, and I see it always online. I can understand both sides because actually I've seen both sides of the story. Some people say VCs and investors are evil, and the other ones, hey, founders, you don't know what you're doing. I get it. So we have like this I might be funny, but like kind of a Tom and Jerry situation here, right? So,
Yes.
uh, but in some cases, you need to go and go talk to investors. So if you would have, gone to that route, what you would focus more when you would present your business plan to investors? And I'm asking you this, I know it didn't apply to you, but just maybe to give some hints to fellow entrepreneurs.
I would say first you have to understand your consumer base. In this case, it's your investor base that you're pitching, right? So understand who they are and what they're seeking, right? And also you have to show them a huge opportunity and a huge opportunity for them to get, to make a huge profit, right? That's basically it. Show them a huge, give them a, give them numbers that are real, are pertain to your business, because these investors, they want to make money. So if you're showing them something with a small market potential, they may not want to entertain it.
Right. Now, I'm gonna jump on something else, which is, leadership. And I know, something which you did fantastically well. But when I was preparing, I read the profile. So you have huge respect to your team, but of course, respect is there. Like maybe culture, indeed, it's important. But let us know, what's your philosophy, if I might ask, especially because, the business you are in, it's not like any other kind of business. It's a high trust service, right? So we're talking about kids. We're talking about people who, this is
Yes.
the most, important things in their lives. So what's your philosophy for leadership, Nelson?
Uh, this is a very good question. I'm going to hit you with something. The path to greatness is along with others. That's Balthasar. I've been going with that for a long time, right? The path to greatness is along with others. Balthasar Gracian. And also, rising tide lifts all boats. That's how it
That
works. That's how it works.
simple, sweet. Simple, sweet. You know what I'm loving about this discussion, Nelson, is you're so spontaneous. You're so humble also as well. I can see this,
Uh,
and like my audience knows that when I interview someone, like not all the time necessarily I know them from long time. So when I say something about a person, believe me, I mean it. We interchanged messages with Nelson couple of maybe 2 or 3 months ago, and we decided on recording this episode. But sometimes you get hooked with the guests. That's what I mean. Um, so let me ask you now, what keeps you grounded, Nelson? And you know, how do you avoid, being staying calm? I can see you are a calm person. Correct me if I'm wrong. So how do you avoid, being, creeped out, going out of control? What's your
oh,
secret?
it's constant. It's constant work. Um, I love people, and I'm just being myself. I guess maybe it's my parents, right? Um, so but leadership is constant work, and it's enjoying. I just love people and working with great people. And I understand that I couldn't build this by myself. And there's value to everyone in this organization, and everyone brings value, and they need to be recognized for bringing value. And I'm not taking any light for their work. I just couldn't do that. And yes, I work hard, but so they do that, right? So um, I would say, uh, I couldn't do it by myself, and it's my team. It's just them. It's them.
I think people, I keep telling people we need more humble people like yourself, Nelson, right? So, and grounded people. I love this. It's like acknowledging, yeah, of course, And by the way, people they think that I am anti, celebrating wins. I mean, no, not at all. I celebrate my own wins as well, but I mean, doing it as a team and giving credits to people is something that not everyone does, unfortunately. But your way, and I think this because I believe you couldn't do this if you didn't have this spirit of being loving and caring both to your customers and your team. Otherwise, I don't believe, especially in a business like yours, I can't imagine this. Now, I can ask like maybe a little bit a odd question. If
Go
you
ahead.
could go back time, maybe the time that you were in that Uber, and
Yes.
what you tell yourself to do.
Don't stop. Uh, right. Don't stop. You have a dream, go for it. Right. You have,
Love this,
you
man.
know, don't stop. You cannot stop. And I'll tell you, this is still part of the journey, and this is still what invigorates me. It's like, hey, it doesn't, that the goal just keeps going. The destination just keeps going further, uh, because once you start getting closer to it, like that Google map, it might be here. Now you're gonna start, moving the goalpost and keep going forward, because that's what happens. When you it's like this, right? Okay, I equate it to like climbing trees, right? And as an entrepreneur, you you know entrepreneurs can attest to this. Um, if I go outside and I climb a small tree and I fall down and I bruise my elbows, I bruise my feet, okay, cool. I fell down. Now I'm going to go climb the tree across the street, which is twice as high. I climb down and I say, you know what? I just fell down. Let me climb that 3-story house. I climbed the 3-story house. I fell down. You know what? Let me climb the 10-story building. I climbed this 10-story building. I fall down. You know what? I could climb that 20-story building. I try to climb that 20-story building. I fall down. So what? Let me climb that 30-story building, right? So in the journey, as the more you fall down, the more you see. And it's that, the world is yours, because now you realize that, I'm invincible. I just climbed this 30-story building and I fell down. Okay, cool. Let me just climb a 50-story building. Let me just, you know what? I can climb Burj Dubai. Forget about it. Who says I can't? So, but the more you fall down, the more you start realizing that, hey, there's a bigger picture to it. There's something more attainable, and that's just kind of like moving the goalpost. You start realizing that, there's more to it, and that's part of the journey.
It is, and I love the spirit. Really, really, I love the spirit, Nelson. Now, let me ask you, what's next for Kidmoto? And like, is it just expanding in more cities, maybe globally, or is it like you're seeing, hmm, we can scale the business, entering other,
Yes.
aspects related?
So now it's becoming a MotoNation, which is more of, we're providing pickups for parents with children at hospitals. We're moving into government healthcare logistics, because my background also is in like government procurement. So that's where it will be challenging and fun, moving into logistics, and that's volume, right? Like super volume, and but we are national. We have a national infrastructure, and because we have that infrastructure, we can move into multiple different areas. But we have to stay to our core vision, which is providing us technology for niche and underserved segments of the market. We really
Absolutely.
can't. We really cannot compete or try to compete with market leaders, because they may, it just it's not a good idea. But if we focus on very niche and specific areas, we can still survive. And again, the riches are in the niches.
Absolutely, absolutely. I heard it from many guests who are like founders like yourself, Nelson. 100%. Yeah, start small when the time comes. As you said, like this still in my it's stuck in my mind. Like you said, live the current race, not the past, not the future. I love this. Now, now, what I want to ask you, Nelson, I can go these days, and I know maybe it's not relevant. You might tell me no. What are you doing with AI? Anything with AI?
We are uh, trying to incorporate AI into a few different areas of the customer journey of marketing, and it's changing how things are happening, and very interesting. I'll tell you, it's very interesting of what AI can do. Um, I'm studying it a lot, and oh, it's phenomenal actually. It's phenomenal, and uh, but uh, it's I just can't. It's just so much to grasp. I'll tell you, it's a lot to grasp.
Absolutely. I can imagine, some use cases, but yeah, it's very exciting. Um, Nelson, like as we, come close to the end of this episode, I really enjoyed every moment, the spirit, the mentality you have and all this. But maybe I should have asked you something. Maybe I missed something you want to share with us. And of course, kind of like final word of wisdom, I call them to my guests, and also of course like where people can get in touch and learn more.
Okay, cool. Uh, my best advice is, think about, going outside and going, driving to a destination. Again, if you, excuse me, um, can you hear me? So, you set your destination with a Google map, right? And so Google map is actually going to give you a route. You need to have a route and a destination, right? Because if you don't have a route, you can't really get to your destination, and your route is your business plan. So if you focus on the business plan, then you can, of course, see your thoughts on paper. And of course, if it's not documented, it never happened, right? And in this day and age, when you have 1,000 different things going on a daily basis, we tend to forget. So documentation and a business plan is very important. And if you do that, and you will have a vision, you will get to your vision, your destination. And for myself, everyone can find me on LinkedIn, Nelson Nigel. So no, uh, reach me on LinkedIn, and yes, please.
Sure. uh Again, thank you very much, Nelson.
You're welcome.
You shed a lot of light. So before I let you go, so just this is for the audience. You will find, link for Nelson, for his LinkedIn profile. You will find it in the show notes if you're listening on your favorite podcasting app, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you will find it in the description. And this is how I end my episodes. This is for you, audience. If you just discovered this podcast by luck, thank you for passing by. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did so, please give me a thumb up, subscribe, share it with your friends and colleagues. And if you are one of the people who keeps coming again and again, thank you very much for being so loyal. Thank you for your feedbacks, your comments, your questions. I read them all. And the big thank you for everyone, including you, Nelson, for all my guests, all my audience. Because of you only, not because of me, the podcast this year did extremely well. So since approximately the last 2 months, we are still ranking in the top 200 Apple podcast charts in multiple countries at the same time. This cannot happen without you. And we are also selected in multiple places as top 100 most effective podcasts in the tech and startups area. We are also selected in top 40 best business podcasts here in Dubai. Again, this is not me, it's my guests and you, the audience. Thank you very much. And as I say always, Stay tuned for a new episode very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hit that subscribe button, share the show with your tech-savvy friends and fellow entrepreneurs, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us.